It's a story of religion, betrayal, sex, and murder. A story with multiple layers of deceit and the deaths of 5 people, all connected to one woman, Lori Daybell. But it all began when Kay and Larry Woodcock were concerned about the well-being of their little grandson, JJ. Kay and Larry were in Louisiana, and their grandson was with his adoptive mom, Lori Daybell, in Idaho after Lori's brother, Alex, shot and killed her husband, Charles Vallow, in Arizona. Larry and Kay kept in contact with JJ through FaceTime calls, but when the calls stopped and Lori started acting strange, Larry and Kay called police. What happened next was the search for 2 children, the death of the wife of Lori's new husband, Chad, the death of Lori's brother who killed her 4th husband, and finally, the discovery of JJ's remains and his sister Tylee's remains in Chad's backyard. Lori went to trial for the murder of her children and her 5th husband's first wife. She was convicted and is now locked up in Arizona waiting for her murder trial for the shooting of husband number 4, Charles. Meanwhile, husband number 5, Chad, is on trial for murdering his first wife, Tammy, and his second wife's 2 youngest children. And tonight, we'll take a look at the death of Tammy and examine how involved Lori's brother, Alex Cox, was as we continue our investigation of the Doomsday couple. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. When I think of Alex Cox, he's such an important part of this story, such a huge, pivotal role he played in this Doomsday cult. And there was one thing that his wife said in her police interview, that he was afraid he was going to be the fall guy. He would take the fall for everything that was happening. And this is when the pressure was on. This is when they're exhuming the body of Tammy Daybell. This is close to the end of his life. He is concerned that everything's going to come down on him. And why is that? Why is that? Is it because of what he did? Is it because of Lori's relationship with Chad? What made him think that he would be the fall guy, that his sister would turn on him, that the leader of the Doomsday cult, Chad Daybell, would turn on him, and he'd be the one left holding the bag? And I kept thinking about it. And then I thought about his history and what he's done. We know that he went to jail for tasing Joseph Bryan, who was one of Lori's husbands. So there's that violence. He's done time. He's got a record. So, you know, when the investigation begins with all these people dying left and right, you start looking into the background of people. And, oh, wait, he went to jail for tasing his sister's husband or estranged husband at the time. What else has he done? Oh, he shot and killed another one of Lori's husbands. Now, he's claiming self-defense, but yeah, he had a gun in his hand and he shot and killed a man. So now, okay, it makes sense, right? He's got this history that everyone knows about. Anyone that researches this man, Alex Cox, will know this history. But on top of it, you've got him literally shooting 2 people connected to Lori, spouses. Now the question, though, and this is one I don't know the answer to. This is a question I think that we need to see and hear all the evidence in this trial against Chad Daybell is, did Alex Cox, did he kill Tammy, Chad's wife? Took care of Lori's husband. Did he take care of Chad's wife? Now, the defense is not saying that. The defense is saying she died of some natural causes. But my concern isn't necessarily what everybody's saying. My concern is the truth. What happened here? Was he inside that house? Did he take her life? Well, that's something we're going to talk about in depth tonight. Alex Cox's brother is going to join us live. But first, another big day in the courtroom. Let's take a look at some of those big moments.
Were you able to determine whether or not it appeared Alex Cox had been at that gun range?
Yes. Alex Cox didn't sign in as Alex Cox on these sheets. He did sign in as C. Quint, which C. Quint is the license plate on his Ford F-150 truck.
Were you able to determine how many times this C. Quint or Alex Cox had visited that gun range?
5 times through October 7th to the 15th of 2019.
Again, the attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell was which day?
October 9th, 2019. I looked up thinking it was Dad or Garth to help me carry stuff in. Nope, it was a guy dressed all in black with a ski mask on, pointing a rifle at me. The guy started pulling the trigger, and I could hear the clicking and whooshing sound of an empty paintball gun. The scared part came after, when my brain thought of things that could have happened.
Detective Kaikamano, through your investigation, did you learn anything in relation to whether or not Alex Cox was in the area of the Daybell residence on October 9th?
Yes, a device that was associated with Alex Cox was located going up and turning next to the Daybell residence and driving and making a turn and going back around the Daybell residence. This time frame was about 4:55 p.m. to 5:03 p.m.
So 4 hours or so before the attempted shooting.
Yes.
Do you recall reviewing anything in relation to some geofence location data?
Yes.
What dates did you review that in relation to?
I got those geofence warrants through October 18th into October 19th. I learned that one of the numbers that had come back in my geofence warrant, which was associated with Alex Cox on a different warrant that Detective Stubbs had wrote and got information back.
Do you know how long the device showed as being located at in that vicinity?
In correctional time, I believe it was 10:07 p.m., and it showed him there until 10:45 p.m. That device shuts off or goes dormant and is no longer there, and it is later picked up at 11:53, roughly 7 miles south of the church.
And the manufacturers of these guns get some benefit by making some of these guns look similar to weapons, right? Real weapons.
Yes.
Did it sound from this this email that Tammy Daybell describes making the whooshing noise of a paintball gun?
She said she heard a clicking and whooshing. Something really weird just happened, and I want you to know so you can watch out. I'd gone home and parked him out front in our front driveway. As I was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly standing by the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded.
Did she ever use the term rifle in this Facebook posting?
No.
Did she ever use the word gun?
No.
But she did use the word paintball gun, correct?
Yes.
And joining us now, Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, live outside the courthouse in Boise, Idaho, where all of this is happening. And today, really a day where there was a lot of information about Lori's brother, Alex Cox.
Hi there, Vinny. Yes, all about Alex Cox today, at least for the beginning part of court proceedings. And I really enjoyed listening to the detective on the stand. He's a recalled witness for the state, and he really talked about these internet searches that were done on some of Alex Cox's device. They were under a different name, Homerjmaximus. So he detailed some of these searches. And what did we learn from these searches? What was Alex Cox searching? How to operate an AR-15 in the cold. On the day that Tammy, this alleged incident with the paintball gun, the state wants to say that it was an actual rifle, it was 26 degrees. So that was one of the searches done by Alex Cox the day before the incident with Tammy Daybell. Also, some searches for camouflage clothing and some other searches in regard to a Dodge Dakota. Tammy Daybell drove a Dodge Dakota. How to pierce or penetrate the windshield, and what is the size, the depth, the thickness of the steel on a Dodge Dakota. So when you take a look at all these searches that happened around the time of October 8th, and then you go to October 9th, which is the day of this incident in which Tammy Daybell says she turns around, she called 911, turned around, saw this masked man behind her holding what she thought was a paintball gun. You start to put everything together, and we could tell even in court today, the jurors became really interested in some of this testimony because you're putting all of this together now. Alex Cox, what he was doing, and then the next day with this alleged paintball incident, Vinny.
It is, to me, it's piling up, right? The searches speak volumes. You know, that to me, that was the big game changer in a lot of these trials, where you can now go back in time, figure out what people are searching. It's like you're there at the time, and he's doing something that he doesn't think anyone else is ever going to see. And to me, it's very revealing. Okay, let's talk about some emails now. Emails from Tammy Daybell. What did we learn there?
Vinny, lots of emails from Tammy Daybell to her son, Mark. So Mark was on a mission, so she would email him. He was overseas. And some of the emails that she would talk about is her injuries. She had injured her wrist. What we have seen throughout this trial is John Pryor wanting to paint the picture that Tammy Daybell was not in great health. He asked a lot of questions about her health, asking her clogging instructor yesterday if she believed that Tammy was physically fit. The clogging instructor said she did believe that Tammy was physically fit. But he'd like to pick up on this information, this wrist injury, and how then she was on medication for that. Let's listen to one of these emails that Tammy sent to her son, Mark.
From Tammy to Mark again on April 14, 2019. I tripped over the duck gate on Saturday and landed hard on my right hand. And the bucket of eggs I was carrying, it hurt so bad, I just lay in the driveway and cried. Then I got up, cleaned up the egg mess with my left hand, and went in the house to find Dad. Luckily, I seemed to have only bruised it. Of course, Dad blessed it, so it may have been worse.
It was said that Tammy had a hurt wrist.
Right.
And that she was taking medication for it. So this goes back to, instead of a possible fainting spell, she had tripped over the duck gate and fell and hurt her wrist. So that was relevant to me putting this in my report.
Okay, thank you. And again, that's not the full email that you provided to us today, right?
It was not.
Okay, and was there any further explanation that as to what caused Tammy to trip?
She tripped over a bucket.
Okay, did she trip because she had a dizzy spell? Did she trip because she had a seizure?
And another email we heard about today is Tammy's email to her son, Mark, about a raccoon. Let's listen to that.
We thought stray cats were getting into the cat food, but nope. Garth saw it one night and it was a raccoon. We borrowed a little trap from Matt Price, but when Garth went out to check it that night, the raccoon ran up the tree by the trap. It was huge. No way it was going to fit in the trap. It was larger than Chase and had really long teeth. Garth kept his flashlight on it and called us in the house. Dad got his gun. He shot it out of the tree, then shot it again as it tried to run across the yard.
And there were 2 emails, Vinny, to Mark about raccoons, one in July, one in June. You fast forward a few months to September, the last known sighting of Ty Lee, and Chad texts his wife, Tammy, talking about another large raccoon in the yard and how he shot that raccoon and buried it in their pet cemetery.
Yeah, well, raccoons could be a real problem, but the email seemed to talk about nighttime with a flashlight. I think Chad's email or text to his wife, Tammy, was a daytime raccoon. Maybe he wasn't wearing his mask. How about the last witness of the day today?
Last witness of the day, Vinny, talked about, so he was the technology guy at the school where Tammy Daybell worked, and he was tasked with retrieving some emails off of her computer. What emails? Emails from Charles Vallow, Lori Vallow's husband. Charles had sent Tammy an email, and what it talked about was that he was saying, I have some vital information that I would like to share with you about your husband and my wife. You can see it there. And he's asking where else he can contact her so that they could talk about this, because he wants to shed some light on the, and he put it in quotation marks, issue. So you can kind of understand what he is probably talking about. Now, what's important about that, too, is this was in Tammy Daybell's deleted file. It was open. So this email was opened by Tammy Daybell. At least that's what it was suggested on the stand today. So we heard from him, and then he finished up his testimony. But it was important to know that that was read. Charles was contacting Tammy to let her know that there was some monkey business going on between Lori, rather, and Tammy's husband, Chad Daybell, who's on trial for triple murder.
We went.
Okay, here we go. You got me? Can you hear me, Kelly? Okay, good.
I hear you, Vinny.
I was screaming so loud before.
We do.
Go ahead.
My phone went off in my ear, so somebody else is trying to call.
Okay,
Sorry.
gotcha. So if someone receives a text message or an email like that, I mean, I can understand why she deleted it. It's kind of out of left field. She wasn't expecting it. I'm married to this guy for more than 2 decades. We have 5 adult children. Like, what is this email even about? But it seems like there was probably no follow-up, no evidence of follow-up after that email.
No evidence of follow-up. And we do have the detective on the stand talking a little bit about it. If we still have that, we could play that for our viewers. But he talked about, this is the technology director, rather. He was talking about that email. Why don't we go ahead and play that?
We went into her account, and we were able to find the email that was in her deleted folder. And it was there, opened, and the email had been, the email address from Charles Vallow, the charlesvallow@icloud.com, had been put into the blocked category inside of Google. Any email that Charles would have sent would have been blocked, any future emails, so they would not have been received.
So, Vinny, you have to wonder what was going through her mind when she saw it. And I did hear you mention they were married for a long time. And you read Tammy Daybell's obituary, and it talks about how she was at Brigham Young University, and then she eventually meets Chad Daybell. They fall in love, and then obviously start this large family. And so maybe she gets this email for someone she doesn't even know and is like, well, I don't want to hear anything about this. So who knows what was going through her mind, but obviously went deleted and blocked. Charles Vallow.
Deleted and blocked, so there's no follow-up at all happening there. Kelly Craft in Boise, Idaho tonight. Thank you so much. We'll speak again. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about the death of Tammy Daybell and the attempt on her life and some of the evidence relative to all of that. Alex Cox's brother is going to join us, plus coming up next hour. In Osceola County, Florida, the disappearance and murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. 2 months after the murder, her mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, has been charged.
Stephen Stearns has been indicted by the grand jury on first-degree murder for the killing of Madeline Soto.
my two best friends were just murdered.
An all-new Court TV special.
We have found 2 bodies, double homicide investigation.
The arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi.
Child murder!
Everyone's first reaction was, who?
No criminal history.
They got the wrong guy. Hiding in plain sight.
He's either the unluckiest guy in the world or he was there.
The Delphi Murders, the case against Richard Allen, premieres Sunday, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Scan now.
I did 2 geofences, one located at 202 North, 1900 East, which is Chad and Tammy Daybell's residence. And then I did another one at 3462 Salem Highway, which is the LDS Church, just 2.6 miles south of the Daybell residence. I learned that one of the numbers that had come back in my geofence warrant, Detective Stubbs already had that number, which was associated with Alex Cox on a different warrant that Detective Stubbs had wrote and got information back.
This is important evidence. And this is the type of evidence years ago we didn't have. We have it now, where you're tracking people's the locations of their phones, but you know, people don't go anywhere without their phones. Alex Cox, Lori's brother, the man who was afraid that he was going to be the fall guy. Is he the hitman? Is he the one who murdered Tammy Daybell? Take a listen to where he was the night that she died. This is important. They're tracking his whereabouts that night. Take a listen.
The device that was associated with Alex Cox and Homerjmaximus, and looking through the data, the night of October 18th, 2019, that device was at the Salem Church at 10:04 that night, or 10:05 p.m.
Sometime just after 10?
Correct.
Do you know how long the device showed as being located in that vicinity?
In correctional time, I believe it was 10:07 p.m., and it showed him there until 10:45 p.m.
And when we're talking about a geofence warrant, do you know what type of data they're looking at as far as placing a device there?
I believe that is off Wi-Fi and GPS.
So with the geofence, it's located there until 10:45 p.m. of October 18th, correct?
Correct.
Did you learn anything else in relation to that device as far as any later time that night?
That device shuts off or goes dormant and is no longer there. And it is later picked up at 11:53, roughly 7 miles south of the church.
It's dormant. I mean, this is just like the Idaho students case. The phone goes dormant, coincidentally, right around the time of the potential murder in this case, depending upon whose version of this you believe. Take a look at this map so you have an idea of what he's talking about here. Begin with the Daybell residence, which is on North 1900. There it is. Now, 2.6 miles from the Salem LDS Church is where data shows his phone was from 10:07 to 10:45. Okay, 10:07 to 10:45. Then you've got to flash forward to 11:53, and then it is 7 miles south. That's where I would go to get away. I would go that way. Let's get out of here. You know, getting as far away from there as possible. Let me bring in our guests. Joining me tonight, Lori Daybell's brother, Adam Cox. He's written a book called Lori's Lies and Family Ties and hosts the podcast Tylee and JJ's Silver Linings with his uncle, Rex Connor. Also with us, the director of the Netflix documentary about Lori Daybell, Sins of Our Mother, Skye Borgman is with us. And religious cult expert, retired police commander, knows a lot about this geofencing, host of Profiling Evil and the author of the book, Deceived. Mike King is with us. Adam, I'll begin with you. This is the part of your brother's life that I don't understand, which is like everything that happened before all this, right? Could you give us sort of a thumbnail sketch about your brother, Alex Cox? Like What did he do after he graduated high school? What sort of work did he do? And did he have relationships with women?
Well, all good questions. Yes, he graduated high school, and he's just had a bunch of odd jobs. Always had jobs, always was a good worker. Never really had the whole thing where I think in his mind he wanted to have a wife and a family and kids, because that just never transformed for him. But he wanted to do a stand-up he wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And if you know anything about stand-up comedians, you know that they have a lot of emotional pain. A lot of stand-up comedians go do stand-up to try to make jokes about the pain that they have in their lives. So I think in Alex's mind, obviously he had issues before all this, but overall, he was nice to people. He was funny. He tried to get along with everybody until, he got involved with, Lori and Chad's, scheme and scam and belief system, if you will.
Sky, I look at Alex Cox and that one statement that Zulema said. He said, I feel like I'm going to be the fall guy in all of this. Right? How would you describe the dynamic between Alex, Chad, and Lori?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, I think that look, Adam might be able to speak to this more, but I think Lori and Alex were very close, and I think he was very involved when she and Chad started dating. I don't even know if you call what they were doing dating, but when they came together and when this belief system started to grow, I think that she had a lot of control, and that she was able to sort of bring Alex into the fold and into this new way of thinking, and that was just a little bit divergent from what they had grown up with. And I think that was really appealing to him, and I think this little group of people that believed in this was also very appealing, and he felt like he was part of it. And I really think that it was Chad and Lori that were able to get him to do things. And I think he probably did do a lot. Whether or not he killed, I still don't know. But I think if he were still alive, I think he would be the fall guy.
All right, Mike King, let's talk about this geofence, evidence, and warrant. I understand you've prepared a couple maps as well to help us understand this and how they are able to place Alex Cox in the area at the time or the night that Tammy dies.
Vinny, I think for the folks that don't live in an urban area, they can't really wrap their mind around why is it such a large area. And when we looked at that map, when we saw 450 meters, which is almost 500 feet, just a few feet under 500 feet, that's a pretty big area. But when you start talking all this farmland and in this area here, it really becomes pretty small. What are the chances that this guy would be inside of that perimeter at the right time? It's just phenomenal to me. And I think it's such a great capture by law enforcement to get that warrant and to be able to put this together and show. I don't know why he was at the church and why they selected the church. My guess is that maybe Alex Cox knew the password for the Wi-Fi in that church, and it was a place where he could do some of his searching. And his internet searches have started to tell us an awful lot, but we start to see these breadcrumbs that tell us where they're moving. And, the challenge, we talked about it before, Vinny, is that big area that we're looking at, it might get smaller because the officer said there was some Wi-Fi involved. It could have been the church Wi-Fi. It could have been Wi-Fi at the Daybell house that was the IP address that was hitting and delivering a little tighter circle. But all the while, they're combining these three things: GPS, the Wi-Fi, and then tower locations where they...
Ironically, as you're talking about Wi-Fi and we're losing your signal at the same time. So let's go to Adam. Let's take a listen to the detective here talking about Chad and his information that night as we work on Mike.
When you looked at that geofence, did you get any return on a device associated with Chad Daybell?
No.
Not at either location?
No.
Did you later learn where Chad had indicated he was on October 18th into the morning hours of October 19th?
From other deputies' reports, he had told them that he had been home.
And yet no device was located in relation to Chad Daybell.
Correct.
That's kind of odd there, Adam. So it's could you see your brother without your sister there, right? Because she's away. She's like out of the area. Could you see your brother working with your sister's boyfriend to do something like this?
Yeah, I think the whole plan the whole time was, Chad had, Lori and Alex and I think other people. I'm not going to name names, but I feel like he has people underneath him. I feel for sure all the deaths, Charles's death, I feel like, Chad was a huge part of that too. I feel like Chad has, when Charles was killed, now it's Tammy's turn. Okay, Chad's like, okay, Alex, this is what we're going to do. You're the protector in this group. You're the, and he put the stuff in Alex's head that he's some special angel that's been reincarnated to this life. Now, I don't know how Alex and Lori believed anything that Chad said, because all of it is the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. I'm embarrassed that both of them failed for all these things. But since they did, yes, I believe that Chad said, okay, now it's Tammy's turn. Alex, I'll leave the door open for you. You come here. You help me kill Tammy. I think all those things happened. All of them.
All right, our guests are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tammy Daybell's emails. What do they reveal? That's next.
Law enforcement continued their search for Tyler and JJ. During that search, they located a unique text message that this defendant, Chad Daybell, had sent to his wife, Tammy, on September 9th, 2019, which was the day after Tyler Bryant's last known appearance.
This is the text that I refer to as Raccoon Gate. This is the text from Chad to Tammy, September 9th, 2019. This is right around the last time Tylee is seen. Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun. He was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times. That was a text message. So what is the deal with the raccoons? Well, John Pryor, Chad's lawyer today, is reading an email written by Tammy Daybell to her son who's overseas. This is in June of 2019. Take a listen.
Another adventure we had this week involves a raccoon. Last year we had skunks. This year, a raccoon. We thought stray cats were getting into the cat food, but nope. Garth saw it one night and it was a raccoon. We borrowed a little trap from Matt Price, but when Garth went out to check it that night, the raccoon ran up the tree by the trap. It was huge. No way it was going to fit in the trap. It was larger than Chase and had really long teeth. Garth kept his flashlight on it and called us in the house. Dad got his gun. He shot it out of the tree, then shot it again as it tried to run across the yard. We now have a raccoon buried in the compost heap.
All right, Mike King, you look like you're closest to a place that could potentially have raccoons tonight. What are your thoughts about a daytime morning sighting of the raccoon versus nighttime? I'm not that familiar.
You know what, Vinny? I've had a lot of raccoons harassing us, even right here where I'm sitting, and I don't see them in the daytime. So that thing bothers me. I was glad when you brought it up. And a raccoon, once it's in the tree, if it's got a flashlight on it, will usually stay. So the whole storyline's just kind of bugging me about in the middle of the day, this thing trying to cover ground and get from one place to another. Again, a raccoon is a nocturnal animal. So unless it was chased out of its hiding spot, It just doesn't make sense to me.
Sky Borgman, so the significance of all of this is Tylee Ryan is found buried near the pet cemetery. And it seems like it's a very obvious cover story for why he would be there, you know, burying things and out in the backyard, just in case someone's driving down 1900 Street and sees him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've known about this text message and heard this text message, and it's just so almost overly obvious in my mind, like why it just seems so strange that he would send this message, the whole behavior, the raccoon during the day. I mean, it's almost as if he's explaining what his movements are going to be, the burying, the burning, even the gunshot potentially, you know, that's explaining something that maybe neighbors heard. And so he's creating a type of cover story, just like you said, Vinny.
And Adam, I still can't believe where we are, and we're talking about your niece, Tylee, that these people, they killed her, they burned her, they put her in a this is unreal. Lori had to know about this. It doesn't, you know, she's not putting blinders on here.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about it. This was all a plan, you know, with Chad, you know, with Lori and Alex. The whole thing was all planned out. I don't know where they got all the ideas of how they were going to kill these people, my nephew and my niece. With Tammy, I don't know how they, you know, came up with a plan for that, but obviously Chad was in the bedroom and must have let Alex in with Tylee and JJ. It was planned. And, you know, on our podcast, Rex and I, my Uncle Rex, we're going to talk about we're going to talk with Mike too. We think that there could be some cult things involved with this, as far as the way that they killed him, that there could be other people involved with participating in either the killing or the burying and all that stuff. So it's all terrible. It's really difficult to think that people could get into their minds and turn into this kind of behavior. But again, I think that they were convinced that, you know, somehow obviously money's involved, sex is involved, but also this crazy dark spirits. Tylee was a dark spirit. JJ was a dark spirit. They turned into zombies. They have to be killed.
Yeah. Mike, looking at the pattern here, though, it seemed like it was guns at first, right? There was the Brandon Boudreaux shooting. There's Charles Vallow was shot. Then there's the attempt on Tammy's life with the gun. But we don't know for sure how Tylee was killed because of the state of her remains. What do you think about putting all those together? Like, it's a pattern, but it isn't a pattern, right?
Yeah, I look at Alex Cox as kind of this budding serial killer hitman who's trying to do what he thinks God wants him to do and follow his sister, and in this case, Chad, if he is in fact involved. The thing that I find about this, Vinny, that is so interesting and is so close to other kinds of serial predator crimes is that oftentimes they will get more personal as they get better at it. And we know that Alex wasn't very good at it, that he didn't understand things like shooting at close range versus longer ranges where he was sighting a weapon in. And hopefully that's why Brandon survived. But as we see the time get closer and closer to the children, we see the intimacy getting closer and closer. And that's something that I've seen over and again in other kinds of predatory cases. Again, when they're uncomfortable and new at it, they're going to use something to guarantee success, like a rifle. But then they're going to want that thrill, and it just doesn't come the same, so they have to get more and more intimate. And isn't that a wacky thing to think about?
Sky, I wonder, and I think about this, did they think like they were going to get away with it? Like, 2 children missing, that, you know, someone's going to say something.
I think they absolutely thought they were going to get away with it. And I think, you know, if you look back at the sort of trail of bodies, they had gotten away with it for a long time. I mean, Alex was never really even looked at for Charles' murder. And so they were getting away with it already. And I think that is I don't know, it's kind of like a drug, maybe, that they've gotten away with it. They think they're going to continue to get away with it. And beyond that, I believe they thought they were doing it for a higher power, that God was asking them to do this, and that's why they were getting away with it. So I feel like they felt like they were invincible.
And that's how that intersection, Adam Cox, again, of the murder, and then you feel that cult-like beliefs that they have, that they're being protected. And that's what this is about. It keeps coming back to those three.
Like I said, this story is so complicated with all the different things that we've all mentioned before, and it all comes back to a belief system, and how this is all gonna. In my opinion, their minds were like, God is allowing us to get away with this because this is His plan. He's behind this. Like we didn't get in trouble for Charles. We didn't get in trouble for And my belief is, I think that Chad had told him the end of the world is coming. The world's going to be in this chaos, so no one's even going to notice before July or whatever date that he said that. No one's going to even notice the kids are missing because so many people are going to be dead because the end of the world's coming and all these people are going to be scattered and it's going to be completely different. I really believe that was their mindset going into all this. It wasn't like, oh, we can just kill Tylee and JG and no one's ever going to miss them. I really believe that the only way that they thought that would be like, oh, well, the end of the world's going to be here, so we're doing what we're doing right before God comes, and obviously that didn't happen.
Right, but COVID did come, and I always wondered what they thought when COVID was taking over the world, if they thought that was, oh yeah, Chad was right. All right, Adam Cox, Sky Borgman, Mike King, Sins of Our Mother, Netflix, you got to watch it. Profiling Evil, Mike King. Adam Cox, you've got the great podcast and the book. Thank you both. Thank you all three of you so much. We'll see you again really, really soon.